Okay, welcome to next part. I think it's part 5 already. Yeah. Before I put the neck back on, I wanna make this a bit prettier. I already started refreshing the shellac with a very, I don't know. I rubbed this for 1 or 2 hours. I don't know how long with French polish method, more or less. Just a little tiny bit of shellac and then spread it over the whole surface, also the back and the sides. It won't be completely even, but it already looks like a lot brighter and nicer. Before I started this, I cleaned it very well, and this just takes some time. You can do that for long hours if you want. I will see how long I feel like doing it. It's kind of relaxing. And you know, it looks nice. I will do the same on the sides to a lesser degree, and also on the neck, but most of the attention will be on the front, as this is a main visible area. And this is really just a visual issue. It's nothing to do with the quality of a guitar. It just looks nice. I think personally that there's a lot of people pretty obsessed with the finish, and I've seen many guitars where people spend a lot of time on the finish, but no one ever bothered to adjust the bridge or the nut properly or work on the frets. And I do understand that a nice finish is a beautiful thing to have, but there's more to a guitar than that, and it kind of gets ridiculous when 9 out of 10 hours of making a guitar or work on a guitar is on a finish, and you know, you don't even work on the frets of the bridge or the nut or the tuners, everything that really make a big difference when you play it and use it as an instrument and not have it hanging on your wall. But everyone can do what they like. I don't care. I think some people like it when guitars look very worn. Some people like it when they look like brand new, never touched. And you know, there's enough guitars already in that state that you're looking for. You don't have to change the look really. If it's not your guitar, just get another one. There's millions. You don't have to change it. You don't have to pay a lot of money to make it yours, because whatever you have in mind is probably not entering the real world. Just be open and see what you find and make the best out of what you have. If you change it too much, it will stop. If you have a guitar and you really like the sound and then you start changing the bridge, the tuner, whatsoever, it will probably lose its magic, and you will find yourself not wanting it anymore or disappointed. But of course, in some cases it really makes sense to have a better bridge or not. It's complicated. Okay, look, you can see after, I don't know, a lot of very thin layers, that these layers don't really change the small gaps or anything too much. It's just making the overall thing shiny and pretty. And you have to work with very thin layers, otherwise it will look weird quickly. Okay, I dressed this excess here with a bit of black wood filler, or whatever you call it in English. I still want to actually harden that with a little bit of super thin super glue. It's not perfect, but it's pretty reversible if anyone decides to do anything else here. It's no big problem to get rid of this again. I'm pretty much doing this for several hours with, you know, doing a few coats, leaving it for a few days over a weekend, come back, do a few more. I don't know, I do half an hour now and then I come back next day, do half an hour. When it gets too sticky, I use a drop of oil, and you know, it's just keeping more or less a consistent moisture, very, very little moisture in this ball. There's but the problem with this method is that you don't see that anything happens really live. Like every coat is so thin that it doesn't make a difference to the eye. But after 20 coats you clearly see a big difference. So it's kind of not very satisfying on one hand, because you always want to use more and get it done quicker, but it's a trap. I mean, especially when you have a, you know, here's already a finish on here and I don't want to mess it up, so you have to be careful. Okay, some time has passed. I had many other things to do the last 2 weeks, and it's time to finish the neck and then put it back on, and then we already come in the area of, you know, setup and everything. Okay, the next step here is, as you can see, I painted this neck black and the binding is also black, so we have to clean that. I have to clean that. Wherever it got black, also here. And then I will see how well the neck and the body, you know, still fit, and address that. Okay, I will try first with a fresh razor blade. Just lightly go here, and this is luckily an area that you can clean rather easily. But you know, I'll probably have 1 or 2 light spots here, because some part of the neck are actually a tiny bit further out than the binding, and I think it's fine. This is an old guitar, this is how it looks like. Or maybe if that gets too much, I will have to come back and touch up this bright spots that come here. I will see what works best. Also, this gives me a nice control, but it's a bit, it might leave marks in the binding. This is aggressive edge, but if I do very, very carefully, I can actually write on this little edge here on some places. Okay, and this will take a while, and then I'll come back and check out to get the neck back on. I started a bit too quick. I found a good pattern where I use my fingers kind of as depth stop, and then very carefully try not to leave too many white spots, because I will have to come back and touch them up again, and it's easier. Oh, it's better when it's just right the first try. This works well now. I'm already so far, and it takes so long, this whole repair, that you come in this state of mind where you just want to be done and play this thing. And that's always dangerous, because then you start doing stupid things. Like tend to rush it, and that's always something you regret later, in my experience. Okay. This is almost done. So I have to come back here to that side. Okay, the stuff is meistens, German, mostly free. I couldn't get around scratching a little bit off here, and I'm just gonna leave it like this, because really this would look like authentic playware to me, more or less. And this is extremely annoying to get this hard edge here. I maybe should have taped the binding, but usually something goes on the edge and then it's like weird anyway. I also put 1 or 2 more layers of shellac over the whole region, so this is not too white. And yeah, I mean, you can still approve that at any time, it doesn't have to, but it's good enough for me here. So we come to the next step, kind of, what is the neck reset. Ta-da! Neck reset is, I've seen many guitars with neck reset, and many of them were questionable, let's say. For example, this one, it fits still pretty nicely, so when you put it in, it's like snug. I can't do it with one hand, but you know, you see it stays like this. I don't have to. So this isn't a bad fit. You have to be careful of several things now. First of all, neck reset does not mean we just put the neck in the way it was. We have to correct the angle before you put it back on to have a, you know, maximum amount of height on the bridge. If you don't do that, you probably end up with the wrong neck angle again. So this is where you have to be careful. Also, when you have a situation like this, this feels really snug, and it is in certain places. So you could be fooled in thinking this is a good fit. But I checked it out already a bit. And what I think happens here is that around here it's a good fit at the upper side of the heel, and down here there's no contact, and that will not work. If it would be other way around, probably would work, but this doesn't work. So anyway, I didn't really clean and sand this area yet, so there will be material removed. The next thing is, and then I still have to fit it properly. Next thing is, this was now glued in with something other than hide glue, and usually that goes into the wood. I don't want to sand away like 1 or 2 millimeters of the wood, then it would be terrible fit, and it would be not a, I don't know, too invasive here. especially not here. The thing is, I don't trust hide glue anymore, holding it alone. I don't want it to fail. So I think I'm gonna glue it in with maybe, I will add a bolt here from the inside once again. I think that's a really good security measure. It's invisible, and the bolt alone should hold the neck, and then additionally I will put in hide glue, and then you can use a bolt as a clamp at the same time, because clamping with hide glue and neck reset is pretty stressy. So with this kind of bolt you can precisely control in a dry run how everything will be aligned later. So I will drill a hole here, I will add a threaded insert around here, and then add that security. I think that I know there's people who feel this will completely destroy the tone of the instrument, but I'm not here for magic or all this kind of, there's a lot of questionable knowledge with people who don't know much about guitars. Even Martin added bolts here sometimes. All the big companies nowadays, most acoustic guitar makers add a bolt. And then there's this other big topic of there mustn't be any gaps anywhere because it will destroy the tone. And those people probably have never took off a neck of a Gibson or Martin style guitar, because most of this area in any Gibson and Martin guitar is a gap. So I don't believe that story, and I don't think it makes any sense. You really have to be careful that there's no rubbery glue here. That will make a big difference. And you have to be careful that it holds well in the correct angle. That will make a big difference. But that's kind of it. It's difficult enough. Okay, I will now drill holes and see how it goes. But I've done this 100 times and it works very well. It is reversible, invisible, and very secure. It's just a bit tricky to get in the bolt from in here. But when you do it 100 times, it's not that tricky anymore. Okay, before I go any further, actually I will clean this whole area. I really like this glue for this stuff, because when you reset the neck you want to take off as little wood as you can. It makes everything easier. I will clean this whole area and scrape it, and then come back to it tomorrow. Okay, I put the stuff on. It has to soak in for like 20 minutes, and then you scrape it off. Also, you can see this still squeeze out from a top glue here. And then I will go further. Okay, this was now soaking for 20 minutes, and just scraping off the glue with a rather dull scraper. This is not an aggressive scraper. When the wood is wet, you don't want that. Probably I should have cleaned this area first and then refinish or blacken this area. Just, sometimes you slip and then you have to rework that again, but I will be careful and it will be fine. And after this glue, I have to wait a day until I can still sand this a bit. And then I will see if that will probably need a small shim here down at the bottom. I will see. I don't remember if I already cleaned this with the glue goo when I took off the neck. I think I did once. Yeah, that was a huge mess, wasn't it? Look, this is already weeks ago. But it doesn't hurt to do it a second time. The less sanding I have to do, the less refitting I have to do, and it's just doesn't take much work anyway. Okay, the fit is actually still pretty good, but the angle, not surprisingly, is too low. I'm still below the surface of this bridge, and you know, this is all the way bottom, so I have to tilt it back like this. Okay, I have this, I don't know if you can see that on camera, this angled shims from maple, and my plan is to, you know, glue that on here to correct the angle. So I have to cut a, my god, cut this out so it fits well. It's fine that down here it's a 3-piece, because you know this doesn't end in absolutely nothing. There's still like 0.2 of a millimeter around here, so this is pretty good like this actually. I just have to find my pencil under here somewhere, and I can go on. I swear I still had that pencil a second ago, and now it's absolutely vanished. So I just had to take a new one. All right. Okay, this already fits pretty well. I will just not glue that in yet and check one time how this does with the body together, and see if this is, you know, maybe too much or too little. I think it might be too much, but I will see. I rather have a bit too a really high bridge, so you can always go further down. All right, that's actually turned out perfect. You know, you get a certain experience how thick this shims have to be, how much it does. So sometimes it's quick. I'm pretty much on top of that bridge, and that bridge is quite a bit up, and it still can go quite a bit further up, and there's no insert yet, so I still have, you know, pretty much room to maneuver. And anyway, we're in a ballpark now, so I can start drilling in this region and adding a bolt, and then when the bolt is in, I have a guaranteed check how everything aligns. I also have to check that the neck is centered, and then we, you know, I'm just making sure we're in a ballpark now, height wise, from the bridge and from this angle. Okay, I just took the clamp off. Of course, we changed the neck angle, like we put a shim in here, so now there's a visible lighter spot. Since it's a black neck, very easy to touch this up, it's no problem. And as you can see, the neck still holds. It's still not a bad fit. I can still lift it. I will still check if I have to add a shim down here a bit for a bit more stability, but otherwise this is pretty good. Okay, you can see here that looks like a good fit, and it kind of sticks in there, but I can easily wiggle the back. The top not. The top is pretty tight, but the back of the heel here loose. That means we need to shim this area at least on one side, because this is where I want it to be tight. Okay, I will use this tapered veneer once again for the shim, because I want it to be thicker at the bottom and thinner at the top, and see what happens if I just lay it in there. Okay, this is how it looks at the moment, and like this I have a pretty, this is horrible with one hand, like this I have a pretty good fit without any rocking. So since I'm put a extra bolt, and this should be actually working without bolt too, but you know, this is a good fit now for me. Okay, I put the shims in. I actually changed the side of the small shim at the bottom, and it was better even. And now I check if this neck is, you know, centered. I'm just checking. I'm slightly over the edge of this hole, and I want to see that I'm slightly over the edge of this hole on the other side. Don't have to, yeah, and it's perfectly same distance here. I mean, it's not about half a millimeter, it's maybe about a millimeter, but if it's, you know, they're usually not perfect. The center line here and the string holder, it's always a little bit wonky with many guitars at least, but this is pretty yeah, this is as good as it can be now. So I will glue in the shims and continue tomorrow, he said. Yeah, like it's not easy to get this neck off. Haha. Okay, I'm actually using the neck as a clamp here. I'm just to put this thin plastic foil between the neck and the joint, so it does not, you know, stick. Of course, I see I still have to clean this before. It's way easier before I put in the neck, so I shouldn't forget this. Okay, next day, this shims are in. This slipped down a little bit too far, further than I liked, so I had to add a bit of maple on top, because this is really where the main force goes of the strings, and you don't want any gap here. And this thing here is nice and tight. So I will now drill this hole and then in the neck. Okay, this is how it will look like. You have a threaded insert here, as you have to glue that in. You have to glue that in, because otherwise when you turn the screw, it might happen that this actually comes out. And when you already have glue on everywhere, that's pretty annoying. So it's really better to glue this in. It's not that easy to get this insert completely the way you want to be aligned. So you always have to put in a screw and check if this is more or less square. Look, I've here 3 different rings on. You can see this here. One is this kind of, I don't know how to translate that. It keeps the tension on no matter what happens, it's this kind of feeder style. And then one smaller ring to distribute the pressure, and a really big one. This is as big as you can get into the F holes usually. This will be on the inside. It's bigger than anything I've seen on the old Stauffer systems. They also have this plate inside that is way smaller than this, or a bit smaller than this. So I think this should be fine. I've done this 50 times. You can make mistakes like not gluing this in. That happened once. That's how you learn. But I've never ever have a neck come loose afterwards. You can also only use this bolt or add a second one if you want, and then put tension on the guitar and see how everything behaves, and then come back after 2 weeks and you can still readjust the angle if you want, and then put glue on or leave the glue. But I like to add glue. It's just the pressure is distributed on a bigger surface in a bigger area, and should in general be holding up better over time. Anyway, I have to get this thing. I've just check out still how long the screw has to be, because every neck block kind of has a different thickness. You have to check out how long the screw has to be and get that inside into the body. What is a bit tricky. I will show you. I have this threaded rod with and here's a magnet at the end, and the magnet sticks to the washer, and like this I can get that where I want. Okay, this is a bit tricky sometimes. Every F-hole is different. Voila! Here we go. Ah, that was very wise. Good that okay. Hoppa! Now we have a bolt here. It's actually perfect length. Could be a millimeter longer, but it's fine. It's a machine screw. Okay, now I'll try to put the neck on. Wait, give me a second. You know, the screwdriver goes through the, this is a 60 centimeter screwdriver, and I can go to the hole that is in the end block here and just tighten the screw. And this means I can precisely control how this neck will sit when there's glue on, and it's a good clamp and security measure, and there's no surprises when, you know, when there's glue on, suddenly something is misaligned or something, and then you have to take the neck off again. And so if I have now the bolt on, it's time to check if everything really is aligned in the way I want it, because this is how it will be clamped, and this is how it will turn out again when I put on the glue. Yep, this is still more or less where I had it. I don't know where I put the bridge last time exactly, but it's exactly in the right. Hoppala. Okay, I checked with a bolt on. Sorry, I can't just leave the camera on all the time. And the neck was a little tiny bit pointing in this direction here. Just like 1 to 2 millimeters. So I had to take off a little bit of that side, so we kind of make it come over here. And this is the beauty of this screw you have, because you can really see what happens. I took some material off that side just a bit, and I will check, crack, and yeah, I still have to remove more. So I have to take it off again and take some of that side here. Yeah. Okay, I took a bit off here, and now it is pretty much completely the same. This looks good. So once again, check for this stuff here. Oh, this bridge is still pretty tall, so I don't want to go all the way up here. It would look weird at some point of time. Also, I will lose probably 1 or 2 millimeters in height when I fit it to the body. So I'm pretty happy with this. This looks good. So this is the time where you can put on the glue. There's a light inside. I have to be careful here. Like, it fits very nicely. This is a tight space, and so I can't hold it better. This is just a tiny room and it's hard to maneuver really. Well, so I'm waiting now for the hide glue to heat up, and then I will just put that on here. Actually, I will try to, I will still clean that surfaces with acetone before, and then put on the hide glue. And that should work out fine. So this will, then this can rest for a few days. I've enough other things to do anyway. Enough other guitars around here. And next week will be bridge fitting. Oh, that won't be easy. This is a bit of roller coaster here. I also will put on a relock pickup. I found one online that fits pretty well to this guitar. This still needs some wire, and because the pick guard had this cutout for relock anyway, so, and this fits on here nicely. And then what's left? Putting back on the nut and the tailpiece, the tuners. And there's always more stuff to come. I'm certain of it. Always. But this is really the time where it's easy to lose your patience. Like, it's almost done. I could string this up now with this bolt. I could put on the hardware and string it up. And you know, the urge is there. But just take my time. And then, yeah, great. All right, this is how it looks like now. Shims added here, also added one small one here, and I also sent it a bit of an angle into that shim. That's almost hitting the other one. I also added one more small one here. And now this is a really tight fit, and this would also hold without this bolt here. But the main idea of, one of the main ideas of a bolt is that the clamping. And also this will never ever come loose on its own. All right, I didn't film this. I think I filmed it once before on the Höfner. You just put on the glue and then quickly turn the bolt, and it's pretty stress-free at that point. I also checked the alignment once again, it's good. So this can now rest. And next week we go on to the next chapter. And that's it for this week. Thanks for watching. And I think next week I should be done, and also then there will be a video with me playing this thing. Okay, see you next time.